We are incredibly proud of Scotch in Scotland, and we have felt for a long time that it's actually an incredible whisky that deserves its own day to be celebrated. Oh, my first memory of whisky goes back to when I was very, very small, and I grew up hearing stories of whisky in my house because my great-grandfather used to own and operate distilleries in my hometown of Campbelltown, and I grew up hearing stories of whisky. But I think I know I was in the right job when I joined Diageo and I visited our incredible archive and sat with the archivist who, when I told her my family history, just stood up and walked out the room. And normally it takes a good bit longer for me to offend somebody, so I was quite surprised when she left, but she came back with this big armful of books. And long story short was what she'd actually realised was that not only had my great-grandfather made whisky and owned distilleries, but also the archive had records of him dealing with and trading with the Walkers. And actually my great-grandfather used to trade and speak to Alexander Walker on a regular basis. And what this did was actually made me realise that actually my great-grandfather's whisky was some of the inspiration for some of the Johnnie Walker blends that we now know today. See, normally I'm a bit cheeky when somebody asks me that question. I throw it back at them and say, how do you drink your coffee? And how do you drink your coffee? Can I ask you?
Black.
Black?
Sugar.
But from now on you have to drink it with milk and 4 sugars. You wouldn't listen to me. The point I'm trying to make is there is no right way to drink whisky. If you're going to sit and analyse it and really delve into the flavours, then yes, using a proper nosing glass and room temperature kind of environment and free of all smells, then fine, yes. But actually, having it long with soda is probably one of the most refreshing things you'll drink. In a cocktail, some of the most incredible cocktails in the world are made better by using Scotch, because there is no other whisky that's got the same diversity of flavour. There's no other whisky, no other spirit that can offer you the same different styles and different flavour profiles. So, prime example, if you have an old fashioned, and I don't mean this disrespectfully to bourbons, but 2 old fashions made with 2 different bourbons, while noticeably different, it's not a huge difference. If you have 2 old fashions, one made from Lagavulin and one made from Buchanan's or Black and White, the difference in the flavour profile between those 2 drinks is unbelievable. But at their core, at their DNA, they're both old fashions. Oh, kind of depends what mood I'm in. So if I'm sitting in a nice balcony like here at St Regis, I'm gonna maybe have a Johnnie Walker and ginger. Brilliant, nice tall drink. But if I'm on a night out and I'm sitting in a really good bar, then my go-to cocktail is always an old fashioned. I almost cheekily judge a bar on how they make their old fashions. There are multiple different ways. Do you mean from a career perspective? Yeah. So, obviously there are many big whisky companies around the world, ourselves being the biggest spirits company there is. And in different markets there are multiple different jobs, from marketing through to sales and commercial, but the question I get asked the most is, how do I get your job? Because I spend my entire life travelling the world talking about our whiskies, and the big thing for me is that you can teach people how to sell, you can teach people how to present, but one thing you can't teach somebody to have is passion. And I think that's the one thing that the Scotch whisky industry has in abundance. People with absolute and utter, undeniable passion for what they do. For me, there are no bad whiskies. There are only bad times to drink it. Whiskies are of different standards and price point, and they all serve a different role in our portfolio. So there's no such thing as a bad whiskey. I mean, nobody sets out to go, today I'm going to blend a whiskey that doesn't taste very nice. Nobody does that. They all make whiskies that are going to be somebody's favourite. So I suppose that's the thing, and like the difference between a bad whisky and a good whisky. A bad whisky is a whisky that doesn't suit your taste. A good whisky is one that does. It's got nothing to do with price or style or region, it's all to do with your own personal taste. The best time to enjoy a sort of whisky is normally with friends, for me. It's a very social drink, it's good to spend time with people, it's good to celebrate with, but at the same time it's also probably one of the most incredible flavoured experiences you'll get. So to sit at home by yourself and enjoy a good whisky is just as much fun. It's a really good question. I suppose the very first time that I really truly understood what the whisky industry meant, I probably was about 11 years old, and I heard stories again of my great grandfather, and I saw a picture for the first time of what his distillery used to look like, and I was utterly intrigued by it. I just was this bizarre big building with lots of different equipment. I didn't understand it at that young age, and it got me thinking. My family is either in whisky or farming. To this day I still have a huge passion for animals and farming, but I always knew at the back of my head that whisky was going to be where I ended up. Yeah, so if I use the Walker family, the thing is with whisky, I could be here all day and talk to you about stories, about history, about heritage, but there are so many really interesting stories. The industry itself, we can date back to 400 or 500 years ago. We can see how it's evolved and changed, but it was really made what we know as today by the big blenders. So the guys like James Buchanan, or in particular the Walker family. Probably one of the best stories was around in the 20th century or in the 19th century. There was a lot of people competing, blenders competing, to try and get the best quality whisky they could. And we're very lucky that we've got an incredible archive, and we know this for a fact, that Alexander Walker basically said enough's enough. I'm going to stop people stealing all the good whisky, so what I'm going to do is actually go out and buy a distillery, buy the best whisky there is at this time. And he was the very first big blender to go out and actually buy a distillery, and that first distillery he bought in 1883 was Cardew Distillery, which was a real marker of quality, and it set a precedent for all other blenders. What you saw happening after that was they all started buying up their own pockets of distilleries, to the point that you have Johnny Walker ended up owning distilleries such as Cardew, Talisker, Benrinnes, all these big, beautiful, rich distilleries. Then Buchanan's, their flavour profile is a bit softer. You can see that in the sense that they went down the road of buying distilleries like Dalwhinnie in Scotland. There are different ways to get into it, whether it be through the bar or whether it be through sales. The best thing I can do is attend local events, speak to people. Here in Mexico we've got some incredible brand ambassadors who have got an unbelievable amount of knowledge and passion, and these are people who can help guide you in a way to know more, learn more. But I would encourage people to read as much as they can about the industry as well, because if you look at the Scotch whisky industry, it's an incredibly big industry, but there's so many beautiful stories to learn about and talk about. And even keep up to date on really good information. One of the best websites to look at these days is scotchwhisky.com. A really good website that gets people really in the know of what's happening with whisky.